Good morning and Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
I am Stephanie Bernstein, one of the rabbis here at Temple Road of Shalom, and I'm here with Cantor Rachel Rhodes. We are delighted to have you all with us this morning for Shabbat and to celebrate the special Shabbat today on which Cass and Max are going to be called to the Torah for the first time as B'nai Mitzvah. We are so excited for them and proud of them. So a couple of things before we continue with our service. First of all, I wanted to ask everyone if you could please turn off your cell phones and anything else that might make noise during the service. We do not permit the taking of photographs during the service. Our services are live streamed and archived, so if you want to go back and watch any part of the service, you'll be able to do that later. I also wanted to point out our prayer book, which, unless you are in the front row, is right in front of you on the back of the seat in front of you. It's called Mishkan Tefillah. If you're in the front row, Toby found it. It is underneath your seat. And thank you, Toby. And the prayer book, because Hebrew goes from right to left rather than from left to right, also opens from right to left. So we will announce the page numbers, and we will make sure that you know where we are in the prayer book, and we want to invite you to join us when we invite you to join us in prayer and in song, because we love to sing.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. So nice to be here with all of you to celebrate this beautiful day and wonderful moment in Max and Cass's life. We'll do a lot of singing together, and we hope that you'll join us. The words to this song are on page 10 or in your programs, if you'd like to look there. Hine ma tov u'ma na'im. How wonderful it is to be together, all of us, this morning on this beautiful day. I hope you'll join us. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים שבת אחים גם יחד. How good it is, how sweet it is,
how great it is
to be together on this day. How good it is,
how good it is,
how sweet it is,
how sweet it is
to be together on this day. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים שבת אחים גם יחד.
We're grateful for so many things today. Good health enough for us to all be here together. And speaking of good health, I'm going to ask all of you to please keep your masks on during our service and to make sure that you're wearing them properly up over your nose. We greatly appreciate that. Our hearts are filled today with gratitude, with joy, and I know so many of you in your heart have blessings and gratitude knowing Max and knowing Cass for so many years. And we know that their parents have a special blessing for each of them. So we're going to invite Dan and Stacy, as well as Brad and Jill, to stand with their students, their children, their soon-to-be Jewish adults, to give them their own private blessing as we prepare for prayer.
To a land that I will show you. Lech lecha, to a place you do not know. Lech ilach, on your journey
shall be a blessing. Lechilach. You shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing.
We continue with our worship service on page 172 with these words of welcome and blessing. Ma tovu, I invite you to join me.
Ma tovu, alecha Yaakov, alecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. Ma tovu, alecha Yaakov, alecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael.
On page 195, we join together in the words of Baruch Hu, welcoming into our time of prayer. I invite you to please rise if you feel comfortable or able to do so, and I invite up Max to join me at the podium.
Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Baruch Hu
if you are comfortable with the Hebrew. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Yotzer or uvorei hoshe, osei shalom, uvorei et hakol. Hameir la'aretz v'ladarim, aleha b'rahamim, uvtuvo mekadesh b'chol yom tamid maseh v'reishit. Ma rabu ma'aseha Adonai, kulam b'chokhmah asita. Mala haaretz ki yaneha, tipara Adonai Eloheinu, al sheva maaseh yadeha, ve'al mereor she'asita yifa'aru ha'sela, or hadash al tion ta'ir, v'nizkeh lanu mehera le'oro, Baruch atah Adonai, Yotzer ha'meorot. Our service continues on page 198 with the first paragraph of Ahava Rabbah. Please join me. Ahava Rabbah Ahavtanu Adonai Eloheinu Helagid Olav Yetera Hamalta Aleinu Ba'avur Avoteinu Ve'imotenu Shabbat hu v'ha V'lamdim hu kein hayim Kein tehonenu ulamdenu Hamrahim rahim aleinu V'tein v'li beinu lehavin Ulehaskil Lishmo alilot ulamed, Lishmor ulasotu kayem, Et kol divrei Talmud Torah teha ve'ahava. We continue in English responsively on the next page. O God, inspiration and guide for all, you have spoken in 1,000 tongues for us to hear. In every land and in every age, your children have heard you and imagined you in separate ways. And yet, O God, you are one, unifier of humanity.
We give thanks for the sages and teachers who bring us understanding of your will. Gratefully, we recall the lawgivers and prophets, the psalmists and sages of Israel. And joyfully, we remember that from the dawn of Israel's life, we would turn to you and find purpose.
May the teachings of our ancestors live on in our minds, and their passion for righteousness stir our hearts. Help us to live so that our daily conduct reveals the beauty and wisdom of your truth. Baruch atah Adonai, haboher be'amo Yisrael, be'ahava. Please be seated. Please join me as we chant Via Hafta together on page 201. Via Hafta et Adonai Elohecha b'hu levavcha v'nafshecha uv'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadavarim ha'eleh asher Anochi mitzavecha hayom alevavecha b'shinatam levanecha v'dibaretam bam b'shivteha b'veiteha uv'lechtecha v'adere uv'shokveha uv'kumeha Ukshartam le'odal al yadeha, v'hayu letotafot beineneha. Uktavtam al mezuzot beiteha, uvishareha. Liman tiskeru, vasitem et kol mitzotai, v'item kedoshim le'elohehem. Ani Adonai Elohehem, asher hotzeiti etem me'eretz Mitzrayim, lehiyot lahem le'elohim. Ani Adonai Elohehem. Please join me in the English. Love Adonai your God with every heartbeat, with every breath, with every conscious act. Keep in mind the words I command you today. Teach them to your children. Talk about them at work, whether you are tired or you are rested. Let them guide the work of your hands. Keep them in the forefront of your vision. Do not leave them at the doorway of your house or outside your gate. They are reminders to do all of my mitzvot so you can be holy for God. I am Adonai your God. I led you out of Egypt, so I am your God. I am Adonai your God. Page 203. Sing the song of men and women joined in understanding and respect. A song of God's miracles, an earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children and the generations to come. The song of a land once ravished by war, now quiet and content, her soldiers home to leave no more. The song of a world redeemed, the song of peace.
We continue with the Tefillah on page 205. Please join me as we chant the prayers on the next 3 pages together. Adonai sefatai tivta ufi agi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El chasadim tovim v'konecha kol v'zocher hasdei avot v'imahot umevi geula lifnei v'neihem Leman shemo ve'ahava Melech Ozer u'Mashiach u'Magen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Hazara. Source of all being, we turn to you as did our people in ancient days. They beheld you in the heavens, they felt you in their hearts, they sought you in their lives. Their quest is ours. Together. Help us to see the wonder of being. Give us the courage to search for truth. Teach us a path to a better life. So shall we, by our lives and our labors, bring nearer the world we envision, one of justice, freedom, and peace. We continue together on the next page with Rhodes. Ata gibor leolam Adonai, Michayei hakol, Ata rav leoshia, Mashiv haruach, Umorid hagashem, Michalkel hayim bechesed, Michayei hakol berahamim rabim, Somech noflim v'rofei holim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato lishenei afar, Micha mocha ba'al gilurot, Umido melach, Melech memit, Umechayeh, Umatmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman ata lechachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hakol. We continue with the Kedusha on page 208.
נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב היה נביאך, וקרא זה אל זה ואמר, קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מאור הארץ כבודו. אדיר, אדירנו, אדוני, אדוננו, מאדיר שמך בכל הארץ. ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. אחד הוא אלוהינו, הוא אבינו, הוא מלכנו, הוא מושיענו והוא ישמיענו, ברחמיו לעיני כל חי. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהי ציון, לדור ודור. הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Page 210. To all generations we will make known your greatness, and to all eternity proclaim your holiness. Your praise, O God, shall never depart from our lips. Blessed are you, Adonai, the holy God. Baruch atah Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh. Please be seated. We continue with the singing of Yismechu on page 211.
ישמחו במלכותך, ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי שבת, שומרי שבת, וקוראי עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי שבת, שומרי שבת, וקוראי עונג שבת. המקדשי שביעי, המקדשי שביעי, כולם ישבעו ויתענגו מטובך. ישמחו במלכותך, ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי שבת, שומרי שבת, וקוראי עונג שבת. והשביעי רצית בו וקידשתו שבת. והשביעי רצית בו וקידשתו שבת. חמדת ימים אותו קראת, זכר למעשה וראשית. ישמחו במלכותך, ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי שבת, שומרי שבת, וקוראי עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי שבת, שומרי שבת, וקוראי עונג שבת.
Those who keep Shabbat by calling it a delight will rejoice in your realm. The people that hallow Shabbat will delight in your goodness. For, being pleased with the seventh day, you hallowed it as the most precious of days, drawing our attention to the work of creation. Please join me in singing Kadshenu. Eloheinu, ve'Elohei avotenu, v'imotenu, ritzei, v'imnuchatenu, kadeshenu b'mitzvotecha, v'tein chalkenu b'toratecha, sabe'enu mituvecha, v'samechenu b'shuatecha, v'taher libeinu le'avdecha be'emet, v'chan hilenu Adonai Eloheinu be'ahava uvratzon Shabbat kodshecha. V'yanuchu v'Yisrael mikadeshei shemecha. Baruch atah Adonai mikadesh haShabbat.
We continue on page 212. Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu ba'amcha Yisrael. On this Shabbat day, as you graciously receive our prayers, help us to hear your call. Grant us enough health to fulfill our duties and the compassion we need to attend to others. Please join me. Teach us humility that we may perceive our own faults and grant us the wisdom to be forgiving of others. Give us the courage to be true to our highest selves and the charity to see the best in those around us. Give us patience enough not to become discouraged, hope enough to overcome all fears for the future, and faith enough to know your presence. O source of blessing, look with favor upon us. May our offerings be acceptable to you. We praise you, Adonai, whom alone we serve in reverence. Baruch atah Adonai she'otacha levadecha b'yirah na'avod. And beginning on page 214, there's a beautiful interpretation of the prayer Modim Anachnu Lach, which really does not have a good English translation because the sense it conveys in the Hebrew is our hearts are filled with so much gratitude, there's no way that we could possibly express this gratitude. And in this beautiful interpretation, there is a responsive part at the end of each small paragraph, which you will catch on to very quickly. It is Modim Anachnu Lach, page 214. For the expanding grandeur of creation, worlds known and unknown, galaxies beyond galaxies, filling us with awe and challenging our imaginations, Modim Anachnu Lach. For this fragile planet Earth, its times and tides, its sunsets and seasons, Modim Anachnu Lach. For the joy of human life, its wonders and surprises, its hopes and achievements, Modim Anachnu Lach. For human community, our common past and future hope, our oneness transcending all separation, our capacity to work for peace and justice in the midst of hostility and oppression, Modim Anachnu Lach. For high hopes and noble causes, for faith without fanaticism, for understanding of views not shared, Modim Anachnu Lach. For all who have labored and suffered for a fairer world, who have lived so that others might live in dignity and freedom, Modim Anachnu Lach. For human liberties and sacred rights, for opportunities to change and grow, to affirm and choose, Modim Anachnu Lach. Together, we pray that we may live not by our fears, but by our hopes, not by our words, but by our deeds. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulcha na'eh lahodot. We continue on page 216 with our prayer for peace, Sim Shalom.
Sim shalom, tova uvracha, ein v'chesed v'rachamim v'rachamim aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol Yisrael alecha, barkeinu yotzreinu kulanu kechad, be'or panecha, ki be'or panecha na'tata lanu, Adonai Eloheinu. Sim shalom, tova uvracha,
we take a moment now for our own silent prayer and meditation. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. So wonderful to be together this morning to celebrate Cass and Max and all that they've accomplished to become Bat Mitzvah and Bar Mitzvah. It's wonderful to have such a full sanctuary this morning. I still am not used to it, and it's such a great feeling to see you and hear you singing with us and just to feel the joyous energy in the room on this wonderful morning. So thank you so very much for being here. Cass and Max, you've already both beautifully led us today in worship. Incredible job. You have such poise up on the bima, and they really did an incredible job leading us, and we joined with them with such joy. And now, in a few moments, we'll have reached the pinnacle point of our service, during which both of them will officially become Jewish young adults in our community as we invite them to read from the Torah and to chant the Torah blessings, and they're called upon for the very first time by their Hebrew name as Bar and Bat Mitzvah. It's a wonderful moment in their lives, of course, in the lives of their family and friends, and the lives of our congregation, and we're thrilled all of you are here to witness this moment for them. We know that Cass and Max could not have gotten here without the loving support, of course, of their parents, but also of their grandparents. And it's my honor to get to wish a mazel tov to the grandparents this morning, who I know are feeling all the wonderful feelings as they watch their wonderful grandchildren go through this incredible life moment. So it's my honor to wish mazel tov to Cass's grandparents, Mrs. Susan Bernstein and Dr. Milton Bernstein, mazel tov to you. And to Paula Kuebler and John Phillips, mazel tov to you, so wonderful to have you. And to Joan and Chris Kuebler, who are watching with us on the stream, hello, and so glad you're here with us this morning virtually. And it's an honor to wish mazel tov as well to Max's grandparents, to Judy and Steve Atlas, to Lucia and Boris Kerzner, mazel tov, congratulations to all of you. So it's an honor to invite all of us to gather for the Torah passing now, as both Cass and Max will hold the Torah in their arms as it is passed down through the generations. We will gather right in front of our bima steps for the grandparents who are able to join us there. I invite you to please rise for our Torah service as we take the Torahs out of the ark.
Elohim Adonai,
Max, as you receive this Torah, remember its teachings, its wisdom, and its history. Let it guide you this day and all days. As you embrace it, may you embrace what it has meant for the Jewish people over generations. Judaism is history and hope, learning and laughter. We pray that the story of the Jewish people continues brightly with you as you grow as a person and as a Jew. May you embrace the Torah your whole life.
Cass, may you cherish the message of this Torah. It is a guidebook passed down from generations of Jews before you who have kept Judaism alive. We take great pride this day in your acceptance of Torah. This responsibility requires strength, knowledge, commitment, and love. Today you have brought these qualities to the Jewish people and therefore are part of the link of the chain of Jewish tradition. May you embrace Torah your whole life.
And we continue together with the words of Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Gadol Shemo. Galelu Adonai iti, ונרוממה שמו יחדיו לך.
Please be seated.
The Torah portion for this Shabbat that Max and I will be reading is called Toledot. It comes from the book of Genesis, and my Hebrew reading begins with chapter 25, verse 19. In this portion, Jacob and Esau struggle in Rebekah's womb. Esau later sells his birthright, his firstborn status, to Jacob. In Max's reading, Jacob, with Rebekah's help, tricks his father Isaac into giving him, instead of Esau, a special blessing before Isaac dies. You can find the Torah reading in the Torah commentary books located at your seats, beginning on page 173.
For the first Aliyah, for Cass's reading this morning, it's an honor to call upon her grandparents, Susan and Mickey Bernstein. Yamdu l'Aliyah Torah.
You can take off from this, correct?
Yeah, you can take your minutes.
Okay.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech olam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lonu et torato Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Ve'ele toldot Yitzchak ben Avraham. Avraham holid et Yitzchak. Vayehi Yitzchak ben arba'im shana, bichachto et Rivka, bat Betuel ha'arami, mi padan aram. Ahot lavan ha'arami, lo leisha, vayatar Yitzchak l'Adonai, l'nochach ishto, ki akara hi, vayatar lo Adonai, vatohar Rivka ishto. Vayidrotzatsu habanim bikirba, vatomer im kain, lama ze anochi, v'tele ligrosh et Adonai, vayomer Adonai la, shnei goyim bevitnech, u'shnei le'umim, mime'aich yiparedu, ule'om mile'om ye'emat, ve'rav ya'avot ta'ir.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chayei olam nota b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Shukla. Beautiful job. If you want, you can come stand next to me for the second aliyah. It's an honor to call up Cass's brother, Xander Kuebler. Yamod l'aliyah Torah.
Baruch hu et Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai hamvorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayim le'uya mecha laledet, v'hinei tomim bevitna, vayetze harishon admoni, kulo ke'aderet se'ar, vayikre'u shemo Esav, v'tahar, v'aharehen yatsa ahiv, v'yado ohezet ba'akev Esav, v'tzak shemo Yaakov, v'yitzchak ben shishim shana, v'ledet otam.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Shukla. Xander, have a seat. Mazel tov. Xander, if you want to join me on this side here. For the third aliyah, Cass, it's such an honor and privilege to call you up for the very first time as bat mitzvah by your Hebrew name. Tamod, 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 habachura habat mitzvah, Naomi bat Yosef Achayev Bradford le'aliyah l'Torah chazak.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamavorach.
Baruch Adonai hamorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai hamavorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam, asher bahar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Vayigdilu hane'arim, vayehi Esav, ish Yodea tzayid, ish sadeh, v'Yaakov ish tam, yoshev ohalim, v'ye'ahav Yitzchak et Esav, ki tzayid befiv, v'Rivka ohevet et Yaakov, vayazed Yaakov nazid, vayavo Esav min hasadeh, v'hu ayef, vayomer Yaakov, haliteni na min ha'adom hazeh, ki ayef anochi al kain karashimo Edom. Vayomer Yaakov michra hayom et bechortecha li. Vayomer Esav hine anochi holech lamut velama zeli bechora. Vayomer Yaakov hishavali kayom vayishavali. Vayimkor et bechorato liYaakov. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'hayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Beautiful job, Cass. Fabulous work reading from the Torah. Excellent. Mazel tov to you, Xander. You can have a seat, and you may have a seat too. Well done. Max, if you'd like to join us up at the Torah. Our Torah service continues on page 178 of the Torah commentary with Genesis chapter 27, verse 1. Do you need this? No? And for the first aliyah for Max's reading, it's an honor to call upon his uncle and aunt, Roger Kerzner and Michelle Kerzner. Yamdu l'aliyah Torah.
If you want, you can take your masks off.
Baruch Adonai Baruch.
Baruch Adonai Hamarach Le'olam Va'en.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol hamim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayehi kizaken yitzalak batishana einav merot vayikra Esav beno haradol. By where I love bini, where I love hineni. Vayomer hinena zakanti lo yadakti yom moti vieta sana chileha telyaha bikashteha vitse hasare vitsurali said. Vaseli matamim kasher ahavti vehaviali vehela bavor tevareha nafshi veteranamut.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Sure. Beautiful. If you'd like to join me over here, you may. For the second aliyah for Max's reading, it's an honor to invite up his uncle and aunt, Adam Gold and Meryl Gold. Yamdu l'aliyah Torah.
Baruch Adonai Hamborach.
Baruch Adonai Hamarach Le'olam Va'en.
Baruch Adonai Hamborach Le'olam Va'en. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol hamim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Berivka Shomot Bidaber Yitzhak Elisav Beno Vaye Lehisav Hasadeh Latud Said Lehavi. Berivka Amra Eliakov Bena Lemor Hine Shamati et Aviha Medaber Elisav Ahiha Lemor Havia Li Said Vasili Matamim Behela Ve'avaraha Lifnei Adonai Lifnei Moti Ve'ata V'nishama B'koli Asher Ani Mitzvah.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, V'chaye olam nata b'tochenu, Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Amen. You want to join me here for the third Aliyah, Max? It's such an honor, privilege to invite you for the very first time as bar mitzvah to chant the blessings. Yamod, 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 Habachor habar mitzvah, Gabriel Tamir ben David v'ahuva la'aliyah l'Torah chazak.
Baruch et Adonai Hambarah.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hambarah le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bahar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Lechna el hatzon v'kach li misham, shenei gedayei izim tovim, v'se'otam matamim le'aviha, v'ashder ahev, v'hebeta le'aviha, v'elha, v'avor asher yivarecha lifnei moti. V'tomer Yaakov el Rivka imo, hen Esav ahi, ish sa'ir, v'anohi ish halak, ulai mosheni avi, v'haiti v'enav, kim teheh, v'heviti alai, kilalav v'lo v'raha. V'tomer lo imo, alai kilataha, b'ni ahaha shema b'koli, v'lei kachli. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet v'hayei olam nata b'tokeinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Beautiful job, Max. Yesher koach, mazel tov. Excellent reading from the Torah. We are going to dress the Torah now, and it's an honor to call upon Max's brother, Toby, to help us out. And if you would mind to please rise.
Where's the mincha? I want to roll it.
Oh, it's OJ's.
V'shol haTorah asher sham Moshe le'bnei Yisrael, Avi Adonai v'yad Moshe. La 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 la
We now turn to the Hof.
Please be seated.
We turn now to the Haftorah, or concluding reading of the Torah service. The Haftorah that Cass and I will read is from the book of Malachi, beginning with chapter 1, verse 1. Malachi, in an effort to restore the people's faith in God, speaks about God blessing the Jewish people, and specifically refers to the blessing given to Jacob that was mentioned during the Torah reading. This portion can be found in your commentaries on page 191. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bahar bin tovin v'ratah v'divrei ha'ne'emarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai Haboher Batorah Uv'Moshe Avdo Uv'Yisrael Amo Uv'Nvi'ei Ha'emet B'Tzedek Masad Bardonai Al Yisrael B'Yad Malahi Ahavti Ethem Amar Adonai V'Amartem Bama Ahavtanu Haloah Esav L'Yaakov Ne'um Adonai Ba'ohav et Yaakov B'neihem. Wait, no. Be'esav Saneiti Asim et harav shemama ve'nahalato litanot midbar hitomar adom rushashnu v'nashu v'nivne horavot ko amar Adonai tivot hema yivnu vani eheros v'karu lahem givul risha v'ha'am asher za'am Adonai ad olam ve'enehem tir'ena Atem Tomru Yigdal Adonai Me'al Vigvul Yisrael Ben Yihabed Av Ve'eved Adonai Hav Ve'im Av Ani Aye Kevoti Ve'im Adonim Ani Aye Morai Amar Adonai Sivaot Lachem HaKohanim Bozei Shemi Va'amartem Bame Vazinu Et Shemecha Magishim Al Mizbechi Lachem Megoal Va'amartem Bame Ge'alnucha Va'amarchem Shulchan Adonai Nivzehu V'chi tagishun Iver Lizboach Ein Ra V'chi tagishu Piseach V'hole Ein Ra Hakrivehu na lefechatecha hayirtzecha o hayisafanecha Amar Adonai Tziva'ot Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Tzor kol haolamim Tzadik bechol hadarot Ha'el ha'ne'eman, ha'omer ve'oseh, ha'medaber u'mkayem, sha'kadvarav emet v'tzedek, al ha'torah ve'al ha'avodah ve'al ha'nebim ve'al yom ha'shabbat hazeh, shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu likdusha v'limnucha lekavod Ultifaret El Hakol Adonai Eloheinu Anachnu modim lach Umevarachim otach Yitzbarashim ha Befi kol ha'tamid Le'olam va'ed Baruch ata Adonai Mikadesh HaShabbat
Amen. Wow, beautiful job, Max. Beautiful job, Cass. All the Hebrew parts are over, so you can take a big sigh of relief. You did beautifully, though, just beautifully. I think Rabbi Bernstein and I are going to send some applications to rabbinical or cantorial school later after this for you. Well done. We're going to put the Torah back in the ark. I invite the congregation to please rise. We open up. Will you mind opening up the ark for us?
Don't
be seated.
Although I made reading Hebrew look easy, what was I reading? Here's the story. Rebecca was unable to have children. She and her husband Isaac asked God for a child. After pleading with God, she became pregnant with twins. It was a difficult pregnancy. God tells Rebecca that the older child will serve the younger. This was unusual because the older child received special treatment and had unique responsibilities. Esau, the older son, sells his brother Jacob his birthright in exchange for food. While writing this speech, I got stuck. I didn't know how to analyze my Torah portion. Making connections to my portion would be challenging if it weren't for my brother. I can connect to my Torah portion because of the relationship between siblings Esau and Jacob. My brother is 4.5 years older than me, and his name's Xander, but I've called him Z for as long as I can remember. If you know me well, then you probably know how close I am with him. I mean, he's incredible. I'm a little biased, I admit. The relationship between Esau and Jacob was unhealthy because they didn't trust each other. They acted more like peers or classmates than siblings. In order to have a successful and healthy sibling relationship, you have to be honest and trust each other. In my eyes, I have both a brother and a forever best friend. One of the reasons we're so close is because there's no parental favoritism in my house. With Jacob and Esau, Isaac was closer to Esau because he had a taste for game, and Rebecca and Jacob were closer because he was more timid. My parents constantly remind both me and my brother that we're both fantastic people, and we love them for that. Healthy sibling relationships are important because you're stuck with this person or people for the rest of your life. There'll be plenty of conflicts and ups and downs, but no one knows me better than my brother. He makes me happy when I need it and can make me laugh harder than anyone else can. My mom lost her sister, my aunt, to brain cancer a little over a year ago. I can't imagine how challenging it is to have lost a sibling. I can't imagine losing Xander. Cherish the moments you have with your siblings and tell them you love them because that could be the last time you'll be able to. When I do get into conflicts with my brother, we always try to be mature. We try to handle it ourselves without our parents. We take a break and cool off. Then we can come back with a healthier mindset. Some examples of times that me and my brother have squabbled have usually been over respecting each other's boundaries. These days, we ask before borrowing anything that belongs to the other person, before touching each other, even if it's just a hug, and we always ask before we go into each other's rooms. This is imperative in our relationship because it builds trust between us. Another thing that helps our relationship stay strong is privacy. We've never shared rooms, but we share a lot of other things in our life, like books, clothes, and our parents. Love you, Mom and Dad. I feel bad for Esau and Jacob because I love my brothers so much. Having an unhealthy relationship between siblings is disappointing, to say the least. Z makes me a better person. We snuggle and share secrets and funny stories. I'm trying to pretend he isn't going off to college right now. I hope he's smiling right now because I know I do whenever I think about how meaningful Z is in my life. Thank you to all my friends and family. I'm so happy you guys are here to support me today. Mom and Dad, you put so much effort into making sure this day is fantastic and that I'm confident in my Hebrew. I'm grateful for Rabbi Bernstein and Cantor Rhodes for making this day so memorable. Mazel tov, Max, you did incredibly. Thank you, Cantor Mandel, my tutor, for the countless times you repeated my Hebrew when I got lost. I finally got it. And finally, Xander, my amazing brother who supported me during this stressful period. I love you so much, I don't know what I'd do without you. You're the Esau to my Jacob, but our relationship is much healthier. At least one thing is similar about our relationships. As God said, the older should definitely serve the younger. Shabbat shalom.
Good morning and Shabbat shalom. My Torah portion is the story of two brothers, Jacob and Esau, and how the younger brother, Jacob, pretends to be the older brother, Esau. My first thought hearing this was that this was great. Maybe I'd finally understand little brothers. However, I'm still working on that, and this portion from the Torah takes some time to figure out. In the story, Jacob and Esau's mother, Rebecca, convinces Jacob to wear animal fur to appear as hairy as Esau. Then Isaac, who is blind in old age, believes Jacob is Esau and gives Jacob the birthright traditionally given to the oldest son. It was hard for me to process this story of a mother conspiring with one son against the other. How could they do that? I wondered if this was a black and white example illustrating the importance of honesty and the consequences of deception. I thought about an example that I've seen. One case, which may not be as familiar to you, is the Minecraft YouTuber named Dream. He cheated in Minecraft speedrunning and got the 5th best Minecraft time in the world. However, he also got caught and got banned from speedrun.com for a portion of time. That seemed pretty bad and maybe what one can draw from this portion. But with a bit more study, I discovered how the story is actually teaching us about the importance of honesty and how sometimes life can present people with difficult choices. Turning back to the Torah, Rebecca's story is complicated. Before her twins were born, Rebecca was in such pain that she went to inquire of God as to why. God gave her a mysterious answer. 2 nations are in your womb, and 2 people from within you will be separated. One person will be stronger than the other, and the older will serve the younger. Thinking that these words of God meant that Jacob would be the person to lead the Jewish people, Rebecca believed that she was following God's plan by helping Jacob receive the blessing. As a further possible justification, the Torah also tells of how Esau was a rough character. He is described as a man of the field, while Jacob is said to be a wholesome person, and Rebecca, as his mother, though she loved Esau, understood his nature. Does this justify her and Jacob's actions? It is hard to say, but the Torah brings us these challenges and dilemmas so that we can wrestle with and learn from them. There is another aspect of the portion that also raises questions. Why did Isaac love Esau so much, while Rebecca saw his flaws so clearly? Was Isaac blind to his son's nature, and if so, why? Some theories have said that Isaac had only known honest people in his life, and was thus tricked by Esau, while Rebecca knew better, given her family's more colorful history. But there is another explanation that I find more inspiring, and that is that Isaac loved and spent more time with Esau precisely because he knew that Esau was the more difficult child. He loved Esau because Esau needed more love. In reading this portion that at first seems about deception, it is comforting to find much more positive and inspiring lesson from the story as well. It is with this in mind that I'll turn to some of the people who I'm lucky to love and who are here with me today. I'd love to thank my family for supporting me on my bar mitzvah journey, especially my mom and dad. Thank you to my grandparents and extended family and friends for all your love and support. Thank you to all the teachers I've had at Hebrew school for helping me learn, and to my tutor Beth and Cantor, Rhodes, and Rabbi Bernstein. And of course, a special thank you to my own little brother Toby, because he's a much better little brother than Jacob is. Shabbat Shalom.
Wow, Shabbat Shalom. So I'm going to ask each of you to stay there just for a couple of minutes. BC, before COVID, we would all gather around one lectern, and it would be a little bit cozier, but we'll pretend that we're all standing together. Wow, what an incredible job, Cass and Max, you both did. I hope that you feel good. I hope you feel, I know you feel relieved, right? A big sigh of relief, or 2 or 3, right? You led us so beautifully in worship, in chanting Torah, chanting Haftarah, and I love what each of you taught us about what on the face of it seems like a pretty straightforward Torah portion, but is really, as you said, Max, is very complicated. Cass, I loved what you taught us about the importance of building our relationships with our siblings and how to resolve disputes, how you talked about trust and building this lifelong relationship. And Max, I really appreciated the fact that you talked about how things are complicated in life, and the Torah gives us ideas for how we might wrestle with these. And there's a very well-known biblical scholar whose name is Phyllis Tribble, and she says sometimes we have to wrestle with the text for a blessing. So I thank you for wrestling with this text for a blessing today. So I have a confession to make. This is just like a small group, right? And it's only on the live stream, but what is my confession? I have always had a soft spot for Esau, so I agree with you, Max. He really needed more love. And you know what? Our tradition does not portray Esau very favorably. How many people, and Esau is a part of our tradition in the Hebrew Bible and the Christian Bible, how many people grew up with a favorable impression of Esau? Yep, that's what I thought. How many people grew up with a negative impression of Esau? I certainly did, absolutely. So that has always made me uncomfortable. In fact, he's even been vilified in post-Torah tradition. So why does our tradition have a need to portray him in this way? Well, history favors the victors, right? And Jacob really is the person who is the victor here. Our tradition emphasizes his role. He wrestles with an angel, and he gets the name. His name is changed to Yisrael, which is the name of our people. And on top of that, his descendants become the 12 tribes of Israel. And he is the main character in the drama of Joseph and the way that Joseph draws the family down to Egypt. And one of my teachers in rabbinical school said that Jacob is too much of an insider for later commentators to dismantle his reputation without really taking apart the narrative of our people. Okay, but back to Esau. I personally think that we need to reclaim Esau because he too is our ancestor. So one of the ways that I have started to think about Esau lately that's been helpful to me is that maybe Jacob and Esau each represent a part of us that we all have. So in rabbinic tradition, there is an idea of inclinations that we have. One is called the inclination towards the good or the positive, the Yetzer HaTov. The other is the inclination towards the not good, the Yetzer Hara. And our tradition tells us, I think really wisely, that we are both born with both of those inside of us. But the Yetzer Hara is not just about things that are not good. It's what Freud called the aggressive drive. The aggressive drive is what propels us to study to become bar bat mitzvah when we'd rather, sit on the couch, right, and play a video game or, whatever we would like to do. But this drive propels us. It is the drive that leads us to scientific advances, and the Talmud says the greater the person, the greater the Yetzer Hara, that drive to accomplish and to do. And without the Yetzer Hara, we wouldn't achieve our goals. There's a wonderful story that says God decided to get rid of the Yetzer Hara, and guess what happened? We all turned into couch potatoes. Nobody did anything. So we need a balance between these two aspects of ourself. And the Yetzer Hara also connotes passion. And Esau certainly was passionate, right? He loved to be outdoors. He loved to hunt. He probably loved to feel the sun on his face. He had a zest for life. I imagine that he was one of those people that we would have said, that guy Esau, he is bigger than life. So he wasn't an intellectual giant. Okay, he was a man of appetites. And those appetites caused him to make a really rash decision. In addition to the switcheroo of getting the blessing, Jacob getting the blessing that should have been Esau's, that Max talked about earlier in the Torah portion, he actually sells his birthright for a pot of lentil stew that Jacob has made. He comes in from the hunt and he's famished. And he says to Jacob, if you give me some of that delicious, red, yummy lentil stew, I will sell you my birthright. And that's what happens. There's one scholar who says, there's something to love about a man who prefers a good lentil stew to a birthright. And I certainly can agree with that. So this is a contrast with Jacob, who stays at home. Perhaps he likes to read. We don't know. The Torah doesn't really tell us much about him. But what I want to suggest to each of you is that we need to find a better balance in our lives between those two aspects of ourselves, the Yetzer HaTov and the Yetzer Hara. And to ask ourselves the following questions. When do we give in to our passions, our zest for life? When do we hold back? But when is it okay to just veg on the couch or wherever it is that you like to veg? Can we forgive ourselves and others for veering to one side or the other? And can we value inside ourselves both Jacob, the Jacob that is part of us, and the Esau that is part of us? So, you may know that later on in the story of Jacob and Esau, they actually reconcile. And there's a lot of nervousness, especially on Jacob's part, as you can imagine. And what Esau says to him is, to see your face is like seeing the face of God. So I imagine this not only as a reconciliation between these two brothers, but for ourselves, a reconciliation of the different aspects of ourselves, bringing us what our tradition calls shlemut, which is related to the word shalom, which in this case means a sense of wholeness. So my wish for both of you, Cass and Max, is that as you go through life, you value both your inner Jacob and your inner Esau, and that you welcome the parts of yourselves that just want to sit and veg sometimes quietly in your tents or wherever it is that you veg, and the part of yourself that has no willpower when it comes to a really tasty lentil stew. And it has been such a blessing to have you share all of your knowledge and your wisdom today with us. We are so grateful to you, and it is so evident that you both are a blessing to your families, to our Rhodes Shalom family, and to the Jewish people. It's now Cantor Rhodes and my privilege to give you our blessing, and we would like to invite Xander and Toby to join us on the bima, along with your folks who are already on the bima, and we'd like to invite all of you to rise. May God bless you and keep you. May God's light shine on you and be gracious to you. And Max, may God's face always be lifted to you, and may you always experience a sense of peace, of shlemut, and of wholeness. Amen.
Taking your place in an enduring line, this is the day that you stood up to say our tradition is mine. You have now read the Torah, it's been passed on to you. It's our law and our story, and each telling is new. It is said we stood at Sinai, and today you know you're there. You're the promise of a people, a blessing and a prayer.
We now turn to the concluding prayers of our service, beginning with Aleinu, which is on page 282.
Aleinu leshabeach ladon hakol, latet gdula leotzer breshit, shehu notei shamayim v'yosed oretz, umoshav yikaro b'shamayim imo, ushchinatu zo begofhei meromim, hu Eloheinu einon, v'anachnu koreyim umishtachavim umodim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim
page 287. May we gain wisdom in our lives, overflowing like a river with understanding, loved each of us for the peace that we bring to others. May our deeds exceed our speech, and may we never lift up our hand but to conquer fear and doubt and despair. Please join me. Rise up like the sun, O God, over all humanity. Cause light to go forth over all the lands between the seas, and light up the universe with the joy of wholeness, of freedom, and of peace. As we prepare to say the Mourner's Kaddish, we remember all of our loved ones who helped to make us the people that we are today. And in particular, today, we think of Cass's aunt, Janet Bernstein, who she mentioned in her speech, and her uncle, Fred Karkowski, who both died quite recently. And to their names, we add the names in our hearts of all of our loved ones as we turn to page 294 and we rise to say the Mourner's Kaddish together. Page 294. Yit gadal v'yit kadash shamei Rabbi, ebel ma divra chirhute v'yamlich malchute, b'chayechon uvyomechon, uvachaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agola uvizman kori v'imru, amen. Yehe shemei Rabba mevarach le'olam olamei almaya, yit barach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yithaleh v'yithalal, shemei dekudesha brichu, la'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tush bechata v'nechemata, da'amiram v'yama v'imru, amen. Yehe shalomo Rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Zichronam levracha, may the memories of all of our loved ones always be for blessing. Please be seated. It's now my pleasure to invite Lynn Lotenberg forward. Lynn is Vice President of Temple Rodef Shalom, Vice President of Internal Operations, for some words of greeting and gifts for Max and for Cass.
Shabbat Shalom. I love how they have the board member have to talk to people behind them, but you at the same time. So let's see how we can do this. First of all, Yasher Koach, you guys did a great job chanting, and Mazel Tov on surviving your first adulting experience. I get to be the first one to give you some gifts, as adults anyway. The first thing in these bags, you will find a copy of our Reform Movement's home prayer book. That's a gift from the women of TRS, and we hope that you will use this in all of your future Jewish ceremonies. You also get a beautiful certificate of bar or bat mitzvah affirming this occasion, signed by the Rabbi and Cantor and me. It was designed by a member of our congregation, and we hope you display it proudly. Inside the envelope, you'll also find a gift certificate to use towards travel in Israel during your high school years, courtesy of NIFTY, the North American Federation of Temple Youth. And you'll also find a gift certificate to use for a free Tristy event, which is courtesy of our youth committee and Tristy. And as the mother of the Tristy president, I have to tell you to please make sure you use that. Finally, there's a Kiddush cup as a gift from the clergy. It's hopeful that, in hopes that you will use this each Shabbat in your own homes. So, Shabbat Shalom to you both. Thank you again for all your learnings. These right. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Lynn. Before we move ahead to our closing song and benediction, just a couple of announcements. We ask that you please bring your programs to the back of the sanctuary. This makes it easier for our maintenance staff, and we have a service also this afternoon. And after the service, Cass's guests should know that there are separate buses for adults and for kids that will be outside. They are already outside. Clyde says they're outside waiting for you. And Max's guests, if you would like to change clothes before going to Smoky Glen Farm, there are 2 places in the building. There are signs, I believe, that will show you how to get there. Women can change in the teacher's lounge, and gentlemen can change in the merkaz. Those are both downstairs, and there are signs that tell you where to go.
After our service concludes, we'll ask that you remain standing at your seats while everybody here on the bima processes out so that you can greet us in the foyer. So I invite you to please rise as we turn to 321 and join together in the words of Adon Olam.
Adon Olam Hashem Malach B'terem kol yitzir nivra Ve'en nasa behefzo kol Azai melech shemo nikra Azai melech shemo nikra Ve'acharei kichot hakol Levado
Adonai yivarech et hamo v'shalom. May God give strength to us and bless us all with peace. Amen and Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.